Hello everyone, my name is Alexis Poquiz, and my presentation is about ACR, Anomalous Cognition Ratings. So here's my outline. I'm first going to give you guys a bit of background preparation and what is anomalous cognition rating, and then we're going to do a walkthrough of ACRs from the context of binary ARV. So anomalous cognition and remote viewing. What is anomalous cognition? Anomalous cognition is a form of information transfer in which all known sensory stimuli are absent. In this process, some individuals are able to gain access to information from events outside the range of their senses by a currently not understood mechanism. And that is how the CSL, Cognitive Sciences Laboratory, defines anomalous cognition. What is remote viewing? As defined by Irva, it is a mental faculty that allows a perceiver to describe or give details about a target that is inaccessible to normal senses due to distance, time, or shielding. So here's a depiction of what remote viewing is. We have a target, and the remote viewer does their RV session, and after a while, we give them their feedback. So what is associative remote viewing? ARV is simply a unique way of assigning a target. In ARV, targets are associated with possible outcomes. So the target is dependent on the outcome of an event. So this is a typical example of binary ARV. We have a judge, a facilitator, a group manager, a tasker, whatever their name is, but their job is to assign an association. So in this case, we have heads, which is an outcome that is associated with this target, and we have tails associated with another target. So we have the remote viewing phase. This is the remote viewer, and that person has a target. The remote viewer turns in their RV session. It's sent to the judge, and the judge provides a score for the session against the possible targets. So the judge will look at this target and compare it against this possible target, and the judge will look at this session and compare it against this possible target, and basically the judge will score. So the judge gave this session a score of 2, and the judge gave this session a score of 5. Now the assumption is that the one with the higher score is what is going to actualize. So the event happens, and in our case, the event is the flipping of the coin, and the outcome becomes a tails. And so, because it was tails, this is the target, and tails is associated with this target. So that's what the remote viewer will get as feedback. So during the feedback phase, the viewer wants to know what's my feedback. And because the outcome was tails, this is what the remote viewer would get. So ARV has been used to predict the outcome of heads or tails for basketball games, for the stock market, baseball games, etc., etc., etc. So just a quick summary. What is ARV and what is anomalous cognition? ARV is a unique way of assigning a target. In ARV, targets are associated with possible outcomes. So your target is dependent on the outcome of an event. And anomalous cognition is often synonymous with remote viewing. So it's pretty much the same thing as remote viewing. So let's talk about ACRs. ACR, Anomalous Cognition Rating. what is ACR? It is a numerical estimation that is representative of an individual's ability to perform anomalous cognition above chance. So there are two very important concepts that you have to understand. One, there exists a true rating that perfectly represents your RV ability. And two, that rating will never be known. The purpose of ACRs is to estimate a remote viewer's skill level. So how do you determine that? What does it mean to be skillful? Well, why don't we use their hit-miss records? This remote viewer has 8 hits, 2 misses, 80% hit rate. Absolutely terrific. But this remote viewer has 80 hits, 20 misses. The same hit rate. So which viewer is more skillful? Okay, why don't we use the average of their RV scores? Well, this remote viewer has a 0 to 7. This remote viewer using a 0 to 7 grading scale has an average score of 3. This remote viewer has a average score of 2 using a 1 to 4 grading scale. And the point I'm trying to make is that there are different rating scales, and depending on the rating scale that you're using, it's not you can't just combine them all together, or you can't just interpret them all together as if it's the same thing. So, for example, there doesn't exist a score of 3.5 for a 0 to 7 grading scale. The meanings are different depending on the grading scale. But are all hits the same? So we have a remote viewer on the left who has 5 hits, and a remote viewer on the right who has 5 hits. Well, it should be pretty much the same skill level. What if I told you the one on the right has 5 binary ARV hits, but the one on the left has 5 horse racing ARV hits? Now, certainly one is more difficult than the other. Are all hits the same? What about old hits versus recent hits? Does it make sense to weigh them the same amount? So we have 7 hits, 3 misses for the viewer on the left, 7 hits, 3 misses for the viewer on the right. Now, does it matter whether or not the last 7 sessions were hits, or the last 7 sessions that you did hit was 2 years ago? Shouldn't you weigh more recent events more than past events? So how do we generalize this? How do we take all these ideas and sort of take them all together and create some sort of meaning that takes these ideas all in? Well, the purpose of ACRs is to estimate a remote viewer's skill level to the greatest degree of accuracy. Now, there are 2 main parameters of ACRs, mu and sigma. Mu is the estimated level of performance, and sigma is the level of uncertainty in that estimation. So what we're trying to say is that, one, we can estimate your level of performance, and for those who don't understand what mu is, it's simply, you can simply kind of think of it as the average level of performance. And sigma is the level of uncertainty in that estimate. So we can estimate your skill level, and we're saying at the same time that we are unsure about that estimation by an X amount. Now, the central assumption for ACRs is that the anomalous cognition performance for any given individual follows a normally distributed bell curve. Now, the intuition behind this is that some viewers have good days, some viewers have bad days. But on any given day, we expect viewers to perform their average level of performance, given plus or minus 2 standard deviations. So what does it mean to perform? Well, it turns out it's very subjective. We can, we'll have a remote viewer and their target is an elephant. And during the remote viewer session, that viewer will say, will say elephant. And the fact that the target is elephant and the fact that the remote viewer said elephant, obviously the remote viewer will say, hey, I did a good job. I did a great session. I deserve like a giant cookie. And but what if the remote viewer also said kangaroo, rat, mouse, giraffe, and what if the remote viewer said a whole bunch of other things that didn't even make sense or that didn't match with the original target? But the idea that I wanted to express is that the idea of performance is really subjective. But fundamentally, performance in the context of remote viewing can fundamentally be broken down to the idea of chance. Performance is when your remote viewing session is perceived as something that is beyond chance. So this is the sort of the structure of ACRs. ARV trials are given difficulty levels, and the difficulty levels are tied to their levels of chance. So, for example, binary is rated at a difficulty level of 1550. Now, one of the things we can see is that quaternary ARV is more difficult than binary ARV, and octernary ARV is more difficult than quaternary ARV, and so forth and so forth. Now, obviously, it sort of makes sense. The more difficult it is to based on chance, then the higher their equivalent ACR should be. So meet Arya. Arya has just started remote viewing. She starts at the default rating of 1400. And Judge Judy has the job of making the subjective decision of whether or not Arya has performed above chance. Now, Judy has many evaluation methodologies. She can use the 0 to 7 grading scale. She can use the 0 to 5 grading scale, the 1 to 4 grading scale, 0 to 100 grading scale, etc., etc., etc. But it doesn't matter what evaluation methodology you use. In order to apply the concepts of ACR, your evaluation methodology must be adapted to include a level for chance. Now, what does this mean? Let's take an example. This is the SRI confidence ranking system. Now, the SRI confidence ranking system has different scores, and each score has a different meaning, blah, 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 blah. The only thing that matters in order to apply ACRs is that you have to define a level that represents chance. Now, the ACR, the SRI confidence ranking system was ahead of its time, and it actually does have a level that represents chance, which for the SRI confidence ranking system, it's a score of 2, which represents a score of 2 means that there are some correct elements, but not sufficient to suggest results beyond chance. So therefore, for the SRI confidence ranking system, a confidence score of 3 or greater represents above chance. Anyway, so whatever Judge Judy uses, she ultimately must come to a subjective decision. Did Arya perform above chance? Yes or no? So let's do a walkthrough example from the context of binary ARV. So the judge or the tasker or the group manager has a tasking, describe and sketch target 465418. Arya, who's the remote viewer, turns in her remote viewing session. Now, the judge assesses the remote viewing session and assigns a score to each of the possible outcomes. So, possibility A, the judge gave that a score of 5. And ACR score of 5 represents above chance. The judge gave possibility B a score of 1, and a score of 1 represents below chance. Now, the actualized target is the only thing that matters, because that's what the viewer was supposed to be remote viewing, the actualized target. So whatever the unactualized target is, whatever score they got for it, it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the actualized target. So if possibility A is actualized, and for possibility A, she got a score of CR score of 5. So her rating would go up because she performed above chance. But if possibility B is actualized, Arya's rating goes down because she performed below chance. So how are ratings updated? Well, chance, from the context of binary ARV, chance is rated at 1550. Arya, she just started remote viewing. She starts at a default rating of 1400. So we get into a situation where we have chance, who's rated at 1550, is against Arya, who's rated at 1400. Now, if Arya wins against chance, or in other words, performs above chance, Arya's rating goes up because she performed above chance. So her original 1400 rating goes up to 1669. Now, there's the after doing all the math, that just happens to be the number that represents what a win is. Now, if Arya loses against chance or performs below chance, Arya's rating goes down because she performed below chance. So her original score of 1400, after some mathematical calculations, her rating changes to 1287. So here is an example of 10 sessions. Let's do a quick walkthrough of this. So she started at 1400, and you can see that all of her sessions are binary ARV. So for the first event, Arya performed above chance, and her rating went up to 1669. For the second event, again, she's doing a binary ARV. Her new rating of 1669, she performed above chance, and then her rating goes up to 1755. Now, on her third event, or the third session, she started with a rating of 1755. She's going against binary ARV, but this time she performed below chance, so her new rating dropped to 1600. Anyways, that's an example. Still, the fourth event, fifth event, sixth event, and so forth and so forth. So after 10 events, her overall rating is 1668. And that's just an example of 10 sessions. So, anomalous cognition ratings. It adapts to multiple forms of remote viewing. It doesn't matter if you're doing binary ARV, quaternary ARV, octenary ARV. It'll adapt to multiple forms of remote viewing. It adapts to multiple forms of evaluation methodologies. It doesn't matter if you're using the 1 to 7 grading scale, if you're using the 1 to 4 scale or the 0 to 5 scale. It doesn't matter what evaluation methodology that you're using. It will adapt to it. ACRs also adapts to time. It adapts to time because within the algorithm is a time element that provides or that gives more weight to recent events and less weight to past events. So ACRs adapts to time. But probably the most important thing about ACRs is that it allows you to numerically represent an individual's skill in such a way that you can easily identify how good a remote viewer is by how much and within a statistical confidence interval. So the purpose of ACRs is to estimate a remote viewer's skill level to the greatest degree of accuracy. So this here is an example of 9 remote viewers. Let's take a look at it real quick. So this one right here has an experience of level of 20. Now the experience level is pretty much just how many sessions a viewer has turned in. For this example, each level represents 10 sessions. So this viewer has turned in more than 200 sessions. Now, all these ratings are statistically significant. We can see that for this person, their rating is 1500, and they have a range of 25. Now, so we have a confidence. We are 95% confident that the viewer's true skill level is somewhere in the range of 1450 to 1550, which equates to about a class C. Now, if we take a look at this remote viewer right here, we can see that this viewer has turned in 110 sessions, and that this person's ACR rating is 1653, which is equivalent to a Class B remote viewer. We know that this person's ACR range is 33, so plus and minus 2 times the range gives us a 95% confidence interval. So we can make the statement that this viewer's skill level, true skill level, we are 95% confident that it falls within the range of 1587 to 1719, which is equivalent to a Class B. So let's take a look at one more. This person right here has turned in 90 sessions. Their ACR rating is 1708, which is equivalent to a Class B. So we are 95% confident that this person's true skill level is a Class B. So this is an example of 6 remote viewers, and the data represents from 2011 to 2013. Here is an example of rating progression for one of our viewers. Now, one of the things that we can notice is that at the very beginning, the ACR fluctuates a lot. So it started at 1400, and then it dropped to about 1280, and then it went back up to 1630-ish or something like that. And then, so the fluctuation is really really steep from the very beginning. That is what the ACRs is designed to do. But as we get more and more sessions, it approaches their theoretical skill level. So like that. Here is a ratings progression for another viewer. Again, we can see that the rating fluctuation is pretty high in the very beginning, but as we gather more and more data about this viewer, we pretty much approach to their true skill level, and their true skill level is about maybe 1700-ish. So if you're interested in finding out what your ACR is, definitely contact me. And you can contact me at Alexis Poquiz at hotmail.com. And as long as you have the data, you can send it my way, and I can manually calculate what your ACR is. Anyways, that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, send me an email, and have a good day.